Hello, digital citizens. So today we're talking about Microsoft PowerPoint, and this is one of my favorite tools because I love design. I love making things that have my own look and feel and tailoring themes that are engaging, interesting, and make presentations more pleasant and easier to follow. So PowerPoint is a versatile presentation software. It allows you to create engaging slideshows with honestly not a great deal of effort once you get familiar with the tool. And it's great for business presentations, educational content, even conferences. I mean, how many TED Talks have you seen that they have no visual aid accompanying them? So this guide, we're going to cover the essential features and functionality of PowerPoint. So here I have a slideshow that I made pulled up in Microsoft PowerPoint. The first thing I want to cover is autosave. So if we go to File, New, and just create a blank presentation, by default, we're going to not have anything saved until we go File, Save As. I click Browse and choose a location. Now, if we save to a OneDrive location, let me actually go through Browse. I think this way is easier. Then we'll have autosave. So let's name this my example presentation, and I'll just leave it right here, or I'll put it in this folder. And now you'll notice the icon up here has changed to where previously it was a floppy disk. Now it's a floppy disk with this little circular arrow symbol, and that means that it's auto-saving. So whatever changes I make, let's say I close this, should be saving. Okay. It should be auto-saving from now on. So by default, when we save in PowerPoint, we're saving with this .pptx extension. And that means you can view it in PowerPoint. It also means it's pretty compatible with things like Google Slides. It is an open format, so other things like Google Slides can still use that format. So when we launch PowerPoint, by default we're brought to this Home tab, and we can start with a new blank presentation, or we can choose from a variety of templates. If we go to New, we can see a gallery of even more templates, and they're even divided by different categories. So I'm going to choose this one and click Create. And now I can go ahead and start from this theme, which is a rather nice theme. So there's a lot going on here. Let's first talk about slide layouts. So each of these is what we call a slide, and this left-hand pane is what we call the thumbnail pane. So if I want to insert a new slide, let's say I select right here. If I click this New Slide button on the Home tab, it's going to create a new slide directly below this. Now, the type of slide that it creates will be based on what slide layout the slide selected is using. So if I right click on this and I choose layout, I see that it's using title slide. So all of these layouts are defaults that someone has created per this PowerPoint theme, so that to save you work, so that you can use all of these layouts and not have to recreate them every time. Now, if I drop down on new slide, I can actually choose which new slide layout gets inserted, for like to content, for example. And now with this one, I can write title here, and I can do separate sections on the left and the right hand side. To delete, if I select this, I can right click and I can choose delete slide here, or I can just hit the delete key on my keyboard. So a few keyboard shortcuts that I like to use that help me be efficient when I'm working with slides in this thumbnail pane is Control D or Command D to duplicate a slide. So often when I just want to keep a layout and perhaps even some of the backgrounds and just update some of the content, I'll just press Control D to duplicate a slide, and then I can save myself some time. Control M to insert a new slide, and once again it's inserting whatever the previous layout is. So if I select this slide and choose a layout, you'll see it's on content with caption. So if I press Control M, that's what it's going to insert. So in PowerPoint, we can add all kinds of content. We can add text, images, videos, and so on. So I'm going to actually go to a different view. I'm going to go to this thing called Slide Sorter, and I'm going to go ahead and just delete. So I left click and drag over these, and I'm going to delete all these slides. Go back into normal view, and I'm just going to kind of start from scratch. So I'm going to name this Why Choose ETSU. And let's see if I can format this. Okay, looks like I won't be able to change that green. That's okay. I'll give it my name here. So I think I'm using the title layout slide. Yeah, title slide. And then I'm going to change this to an ETSU graphic. So let's see if I can find some kind of ETSU graphic. So if I go to our website here, there's a nice image on the home screen. So let's see if we can get that image. Here's the URL. Okay, and now if I right click on this image right here, I can say change picture. Or if I delete this picture, you'll see that they have it where I can click here to add a picture. And then I'm going to find that picture I just saved. And there we go. So now I have my picture inserted, but I don't like this part of it that's showing. So if I right click on the picture and I say crop, I can actually shift over, so I'm left clicking and dragging over to bring the part that I want into the frame. So that looks better. And now if I click off of this, so I'll click up here, that's the part that gets cropped. That looks better. Now, so that's how we can insert images. And if I right click on the image and I go to picture format here, you'll see I have all sorts of options. And what's cool is you can even correct the color and choose color options that are more suitable to maybe your theme colors in your background. You can also do all kinds of cool things with this. Like if I go to style, I can create different borders around it. You can set different picture effects. And it's a good idea to always set alternative text to make sure we're being accessible. So I'll say Bucky and friend skating. So now I want to build this presentation out. So I'm going to insert a new slide. So I can choose, I'm going to choose this section header one. And I'm going to title this sports. Now let's say this other text box wasn't present. Well, I can actually insert whatever I want, including text boxes. So I can choose text box here, and I can just kind of drag one there, and I can even choose how I want to place it. Now on this slide it wouldn't be ideal, but I can go to shape format. I can choose align, and this is how I can align it in the center and the middle for vertical alignment. Now obviously that's not going to work on this slide, so I want to align it over against this text here. And I forgot to mention that I have these grid lines turned on because they help me align things better. Now they don't show up in presentation view, but to enable the grid lines, if you go to view and select grid lines here, I like these and I like the ruler. So now for my heading or subtitle text, sports are an exciting part of the experience. Let's make this bigger. Now, I could insert a picture right here by clicking this, but instead I would like to insert something else. I like to see if I can insert a video. So I go to the Insert tab, and over here in the Media group, I'll find the video option. Let's search the stock videos and see which ones are available. Looking for a sports category. Let me just search sports. Okay. That one looks good, I like that. So I'll choose Insert, and that's going to insert a full screen video. So the first thing I'm going to do is click and drag the corner of this so I can size this down. And I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to make it about that, about as big as that circle roughly. And now I'm going to crop this video. I'm going to try to fit it inside of this circle. So to do that, the first thing I'm going to do is right click, or actually let me go up here to video format, and I should have a crop option over here. I do. Crop. So let's try to grab the middle square and click off of it, and let's make sure I get that football player. Okay, that looks good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to change the shape of this video to a circle. Well, if you notice, if I go to shapes, you'll notice that there's an oval but no circle. So if I actually hold down my control key, it will make that oval a circle. The same thing is true for the rectangle. If you hold down the control key when you choose it, it's going to make that a square. If you hold down control on a triangle to make it a equilateral triangle. So I'm going to hold down the control key and click on this, and you can see it changed that video shape into that of a circle. And now it looks like I've already got it sized about right to fit in there. Now the last thing I want to do is if I go to presentation view, so if I go to slideshow, present from current slide, looks like my video playback actually is automatic. Let's make sure. So I go to video playback, start automatically, perfect. So now if I start from the beginning, when I go to the next slide, whoops, perfect. So now we've learned how we can insert and kind of tweak different media. Let's talk about slide management. So we have a few new slides. I've showed you title slide, title and content, and there's another default one that's usually in here called comparison. And this is a good one for comparing two different things or listing two different points that are kind of related. But we can actually view our slides in several different ways. If I go to the View tab here, you can see I have Slide Sorter View, and that's what I used earlier. And this is good for rearranging a lot of slides or deleting a lot of slides. You can also select several, and if I hit Control D for duplicate, you'll see it duplicated all three of those. So it's good for working with slides in bulk. Now to change back to my normal view, I click on this, And also in the view, we have what's called the slide master. So slide master is what we use to edit the theme. For example, if we wanted to change this font, we could do it up here. Let's choose that one and let's make this a little bit smaller. And now you notice that the font on all these other slides for that title has changed. And it looks like we need to go even a little bit smaller. Now if I click Close Master View, notice how that font changed across. So you go to the master view when you want to create or tailor your own theme. Like we see all these layouts here, but we can actually create our own. For example, let's go down here to Insert Layout, see how it creates this new slide. And now if I go to Insert, you see I have all these different elements, but if I go to Slide Master, I can create what's called placeholders. So what if I wanted to create 3 different boxes, kind of like this one? I could go to insert some of these. Let's do content placeholders. So content means it will let me put text, images, or tables, or charts, or any of these things, videos, all of that in these boxes. So now I can style this by setting an outline color on it. And if I press Control C, so I select the edge, press Control C, and then press Control V, you can see I can copy and paste that. So let's put another one here. And let's put one more over here. And I'm trying to get these lined up kind of evenly. Perfect. And now if we wanted to do like this one where they have a little box behind them, I can say Insert, Shapes, and I can grab a rectangle here and kind of put it right there. And now I want to fill it with this yellow color, so it's already pulling that from the theme colors. I can choose that, and then if I select Send to Back, now you'll see it goes behind it. Now the reason that this is a white foreground is because I have to set a color on the foreground. So if I select it, I can right click and say Fill and fill it with white, and now you can see that we have that foreground color applied. So if I want to go ahead and do that for these other text boxes, I can hold down my Shift key, click on this little rectangle in the background, and then click on the foreground one. And while I have both of these things selected, I can go to Shape Format. I can, actually these are already grouped together. So now I can press Control C, and when I press Control V, look what happens. Now I can paste both of these together. Alright, so I have my 3 content slides. Now let's say I want to animate these so that they appear one by one. So let's try inserting my new slide here. So it's called Custom Layout because I didn't name it otherwise. Let's go ahead and try that out. So this is what I get. If I present this, you'll see I don't get any kind of transitions. So I want to animate these so that every time I hit the arrow key, I can advance to the next point. So let's go back to the slide master. And now the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to shift and select both of these. And then I'm going to go to animations and click appear. This is the only animation you'll ever need just about. So now let's try this out. Okay, so that's working. Now let's apply that to my other 2. So I'll go to View, Slide Master, and where's my custom? Here it is. So to see the animations we're working with, if I go to animations and click animation pane, I can see them all there. So now I'm going to apply the same animation effects to this one and this one. Perfect. And to rename this layout, I can right click here and I can say rename, and I'm going to call this one 3-column animated. So let's go to Slide Master, close, and let's look at this again. Perfect. Now we have it advancing. The only thing I need to fix is I accidentally have animation on this title here. So I'm going to right click it and see if we can, let's just delete this. So I'm going to select this animation and I'm just going to hit the delete key. So it looks like I did that on my master view. So I have to go back here, and this is where I messed up. So let's right click and let's remove the title animation. Now I should have it. Perfect. So by doing this, we can advance different points on our slide without overwhelming the audience by showing them everything at once. So I've shown you the normal view and slide master view. What I have kind of glazed over is the presenter view. And that's what view I'm in when I go over here to slideshow, present from beginning or from current slide. Now, the way I like to present from the current slide is by holding down my shift key and pressing F5. So if I press F5 by default, it will go to the first slide, but if I hold shift F5, it always presents from the current slide. Now what you can't see is that on my other monitor, I have a totally different screen showing up when I'm in presentation view. To see that, I'm going to swap the screens. So now in this view, you see something quite different. You see this view where you can advance slides down here, and you can actually see notes over here. So you can write yourself presenter notes on every single slide. So when I'm in a normal view, if I actually click and drag up from the bottom, you can see I have this notes section here. ETSU has a variety of sports teams such as football, basketball, and even esports. And now check this out. Let me do some bullet points here. So I'm going to hit Shift F5. And what you will see is my notes show up right here. So I can close this presenter view up here. And if you're looking at the wrong screen, if your presenter view is showing, instead of your presentation, it's showing that view that you're supposed to see for your audience, you can actually go up to display settings and click swap presenter view and slideshow. And that way your audience will see the slideshow and not your view. We can actually change the default monitor too by going to slideshow and changing it so that if your primary monitor or what you're presenting on is not showing the slideshow view, so you don't continuously have to swap, you can change the monitor over here. Lastly, I want to talk accessibility and some of the advanced features in PowerPoint. So I've shown you that if we right-click an image, we can choose Edit Alt Text, and we can actually add our alt text on these images. And so part of accessibility is we need to have alternative text descriptions for all the images that we include. Now, if I want to do an accessibility check to check for things like that, I can go to File, and in this Backstage view, I go to Info, Check for Issues, check accessibility. And you'll see it says I'm missing a title slide. So I'm going to say set as title slide. So now when people are using assistive devices, they will identify this as the title slide. And then I'm going to make sure, let's make sure that these have alternative text. So let's change this. And you can click generate a description for me, but they're usually too verbose and they're not going to be as accurate as if you choose one for yourself. So then I could keep going through these and tweaking it and making sure I have good alt text on all of these. And then at the end result, I should get rid of all of these problems. And so the warnings aren't necessarily things we have to fix, but things like this, these suggestions, we need to fix for sure. Now, the next thing I want to show you is, so now I want to show you how you could create automatic transitions and basically make this thing where it plays automatically, and then you can even export it to a video. So for example, let's say I want it to hang out on the title slide for a few seconds and then transition to the next slide. So I'll go to transitions up here, and I'm going to say, instead of on mouse click will be the default, meaning when you click or hit the arrow key it will advance. I'm going to change that to after and set it to 2.3 seconds. Hit enter, and now if I hit shift F5, you'll see how it waited for a minute and then transitioned to the next slide. But on the next slide, it paused again because I didn't set an automatic transition to go forward from there. Now, if we look at my animations on here, you'll notice that this is animating so that when I hit my arrow key or click the mouse, it advances one bullet point at a time. Now, the way I set that was if I go to the animation pane, you'll see those are set here. So I'm going to actually change this, and I'm going to say start, let's say after previous. And let's set a delay on this of half a second. And I'm going to do this and say, set a delay of 1.25. Let's do 1.25 here. After previous, after previous. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to transitions here. And I'm going to say to advance this after, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Let's advance this after about 5 seconds. So now if I click play, okay, and you'll see the last two advanced at the same time there. So I kind of did something wrong, and I would have to fix that. Here it is. So animations. I want to delay that. Let's see if that fixes it. And then what I could do is I could transition to, so I should be transitioning to the next slide right here. And then I could keep on doing that. And what I would get in the end is I would get a fully automated presentation. Then it would be possible to do things like insert audio, and you could insert recordings of you reading over each slide. And if you say, oh, my recording took 12 seconds, all you have to do is set that transition to 12 seconds or however long your audio is, so that the audio will always be timed perfectly. Of course, to do that, to make that work when you insert the audio, so let's record some audio. This is my recording. You'll have to make sure you set the playback to automatic. So as long as the playback of each audio clip matches the transition duration of the slides, then it's all going to be synced up. So then let's say if you want to export this as a video, so I'm going to go to slide sorter view and I'm going to actually remove these. Let's export what we've done to a video. So I say File, Export, create a video, can choose the resolution here, so I'm going to drop it down, and I can say use recorded timings and animation. Now this would be a default, so if I chose don't use, then I could use this second spell on each slide. Otherwise it's going to override with my defaults, or what I set rather. Click create video, choose somewhere to save this. And now it's actually exporting this thing as a video. So let's check my desktop. Here it is. Let's check it out. So with that knowledge, I've shown you how you can create a PowerPoint, essentially record audio over it, and create timings that are in sync with that audio, so you could create your own video presentations within PowerPoint. I hope you found this interesting, and I hope you enjoy exploring PowerPoint. So I just showed you a small sample of features that you can use in PowerPoint to create engaging slideshows. But it's important to remember that PowerPoint is a flexible tool, and you're not going to grasp it all at once. You're going to have to play around until you get familiar with things like customizing your own slides, doing custom formatting, doing animations and transitions. The more you play around with it, the easier it will get. And for me personally, I found just watching videos on YouTube to show me how do I better create slides that seamlessly transition from one to the next? How do I create consistent design themes and so on? Just from watching videos and learning from others, it's made it a lot easier for me to learn how to use PowerPoint well. So a few best practices to keep in mind when you use PowerPoint is, number one, design. You want to keep designs consistent, and the best way to do that is to use either default provided themes, or once you're more experienced, to actually design your own themes via that slide master view. You can actually save your themes as templates. Use a coherent color palette is part of that, but don't necessarily use too many colors. Like one primary color or one accent color is often a good idea. It's okay to use more color, but use it sparingly. And you want to ensure, much like the web accessibility, that you always have high contrast. So if it's a white background, you want dark text against that background. If it's a dark background, you want light values against that. And that's one of those things that's important for accessibility. And that accessibility inspection tool should help you with some of those things. Some other notes, some other best practices: save your work regularly. Not as big a deal if you have it saving to OneDrive, but if not, you need to be pressing Control S so you always have your work saved. And make sure you preview your presentation in the presenter view before you deliver it. Make sure you test all the multimedia, especially when you have video and audio playback. You know, if it's meant to play automatically or whatever, you need to make sure that you can play it smoothly in presentations. I can't tell you how many presentations have been disrupted by some kind of multimedia element that someone's fumbling around with, trying to open the link or whatever. So make sure you run through your presentation before and make sure that it actually works and looks the way you think it will for your audience. I hope these tips help you someday, perhaps even someday very soon if you have a presentation coming up. Thank you.